This podcast may contain views and opinions which are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any local agency, organization, union, employee, or company, including the podcast.
All right, welcome to the second unofficial episode of OCST, Off the Clock Shop Talk. I think I actually said that pretty clear this time.
Say it 5 times.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
No,
That's not happening.
Anyways,
You want to do introductions?
Yeah, introductions.
Introductions.
Our comic relief, let's introduce him.
I don't know where that guy's at.
I guess he's behind you somewhere, the shadow.
But I'm Savas. Came out of Anaheim. Been a Teamster now since 98. Was a driver for 14 years or so.
Out of what barn?
Out of Anaheim.
UPS.
UPS. Came out of Stadium Center. Now I work for the local. And I am here on my Sunday to work.
Provide comic relief.
Provide comic relief for my brothers and sisters. No, but thank you for having me, guys. I'll get over here to John and George.
George Lugo, I've been with the company for 18 years, started in 2004 as a part-time employee in Anaheim. It's actually where I met this guy.
Yeah, been working together for a long time. John Antolin, 20th year, been with a Teamster since 02, and came out of UPS Anaheim as well as a part-timer, drove for Tustin Center for a while, and now I work for the local for 952. All right, so let's jump right into it. Just kind of wanted to go over a couple things. The overarching theme of today's show, I would say, is contract. Contract. Positions on the contract, upcoming events for us, positions of the company, right? The bullshit harassment that's been going on and intimidation. So those are a lot of the things we're going to talk about within different subjects we have to go over. I think one of the first ones we should go over is part-timers. And that being said, Savas is the business agent for the part-timers. We are not, and I'll make this very clear, we are not acting in the capacity of business agents at the moment. We're just members. Like I said, I've been a Teamster for 20 years. We're off the clock for sure. Just talking shop with the guys.
Yes, we are. No,
comic relief. It's working.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. I just one of the things, part-timers, as you know, or if you don't know, we had Sean O'Brien, our general president, come down to Local 952, which I'm very, very proud of and happy that we have that relationship with our general president. He came in and talked about the upcoming contract in 2023. One of the first subjects that he talked about that would, in his words, constitute a strike was part-timers. Part-timers need more money. We need to also educate our part-timers. He made it very clear that 66 to 67% of the workforce is part-timers. I'm happy to say that here in our local, our Secretary-Treasurer, Eric Jimenez, put in a business agent. Whether it was me or not, it was a great move. I think the part-timers have been neglected for a very long time. So I'm very humbled to be here in this position and to take care of the part-timers. And I'll let John kind of go over the rest of what Sean talked about. But the part-timers, I'm very happy to represent them. I'll say this, and I said it there at the meeting. It is all of our responsibility to educate our part-timers. All you brothers and sisters that are out there that are on the package truck that started off like we all did in the part-time. We need to educate these members. We need to let them know that they are important, that they have a voice, and that their vote does count. And I think that's something that I've taken to heart And I want to continue going down that road and moving forward with that. And I'll let you kind of go from there, John.
Yeah. So, and those of you that don't know, you should know, but for those of you that don't, the meeting that Savas is referring to happened back on Saturday, the 13th, last Saturday. Our general president came down, Sean O'Brien, as well as Fred Zuckerman, the VP. We had a whole host of high-ranking Teamsters in the house. Lindsay Doherty,
Chris
Chris
Griswold.
Griswold was there.
We have Victor Moneros.
Victor Moneros. So there was some very high-ranking Teamsters that were there hanging out, just kind of giving us, there behind Sean, giving us the position nationally, things to look out for. And I will address this. I know for me it's somewhat of an elephant in the room, right? But I know there was some people saying that meeting was political and that we shouldn't, the members shouldn't go, that they shouldn't go, and that it was just political and this and that. And I just want to, right off the bat, I just want to say, this is our contract. This should be important to all of you as UPSers, right? As Teamster UPSers. This is a huge one. I think we had been talking about it before, but we're the only union in the industry, right, within the delivery industry, that's pulling everybody up as far as the wages and everything. Amazon is doing a very good job of pulling everybody in the opposite direction. They're kind of giving businesses a model for lower wages, for less benefits, for a slave workforce. They're kind of giving businesses that model, and we're the only ones pulling the other way, where we want better pay, better benefits, and all that. Do you have anything to?
No, I agree 100% that a lot, like you mentioned before, that a lot of companies are looking at where this contract is going, because we might actually set a precedent. Because like you said, Amazon, FedEx, DHL, even other companies like Uber Eats, DoorDash are setting this business model for lower wages, less hours, and just an increasingly amount of subcontracting. Yeah. And I think that they're kind of watching to see how we're going to handle this contract. And if we get,
everybody's watching.
They're all watching.
Everybody's watching.
And I think if it doesn't go our way, that's actually going to sway other companies to just continue in that. It's going to continue that way, and they're going to subcontract even more, and employees and other people and union members are going to have less and less rights,
less and less leverage,
less leverage
as we move forward and technology comes in and all these things. We really want to get in front of this stuff and get a good contract going forward. So that being said, some of the stuff things that were touched on, obviously, like I said, I wanted to address not taking interest and not being ready. We all need to just be ready, because the company's gearing up for a fight, and Teamsters should be gearing up for a fight. And we should every contract. And we're not saying that we want to go on strike. I don't think anyone really wants to go on strike. That's not the point. The point of any action, of any strike, is a good contract, right? So
we want what's fair.
That's what we're fighting for. So going over a couple of the other positions, Savas touched on the part-timers needing more money, better benefits, all these things. Just to elaborate on that a little bit, we know that the part-timers get a lot of benefits that they don't see up front, right? And a lot of that is our fault for not explaining that to them, and for them not taking the time to get educated. There's fault lies kind of everywhere, but we really need to stress to them that, yes, you are getting extra benefits and all this stuff that you don't see.
The longevity, John, the pension, all that stuff.
But the monetary compensation up front that you do see does need to be better. I mean, we got people like McDonald's paying $20, $25 an hour.
I heard they're paying a ridiculous amount now to be a McDonald's employee. I was like, are you serious right now?
And it's kind of everywhere. So it seems to be that the standard with inflation and everything is probably right around $20 an hour. Now, granted, as a part-time UPS employee, contractually, you might have an MRA in there, but contractually, you're going to start at $15 an hour right now with the last contract. But going forward, that's what we want to change. You know, that's what Sean O'Brien says is a strike issue for us. Another strike issue, PVDs. For those of you guys that are drivers,
Oh man,
you know about the PVDs,
Yeah.
right? The PVDs are used under seasonal driver language, and they're basically giving away all our work. And one of the side issues in regard to PVDs, and this is something that George touched on, I'll let him touch on it a little bit more, is guys working 8 hours, requesting their 8 hours when they come in.
you need to work your 8. I mean, we have it's written in the contract that we're guaranteed the 8 hours. You know, you
Which
need
is
to
not
work
in
it.
every supplement out there.
Correct.
Procrastination.
You need to work your 8. You know, if you come in, you say you just want to work your 8 hours, no more, no less. Like, you don't need to come in demanding overtime. Just work your guaranteed 8. We need to give them less reasons to hire more like seasonal help. I mean, along the line, like further down, if we keep getting drivers that don't work their 8, they're going to start subcontracting PVDs earlier and earlier throughout the year, and eventually, you know, they'll just run them all year round, and that's something I definitely don't want to see. I don't want to see that at all.
And, you know, George kind of touched on it off camera earlier, but just the fact that, you know, these new guys, this new generation comes in and they just don't want to work. And, you know, it's something that maybe
It might have been influenced by the pandemic for sure. We've had, there's just been a whole spiral of part-time employees, full-time employees that just get paid more in disability, and it has totally changed the work ethic mentality.
de-incentivized work, as we call it, de-incentivized working. You give away free money. It's kind of, you know, and granted, all for safety issues. We understand the pandemic was very serious. Me, myself, my family all dealt with it. I know Sawas dealt with it. Got very sick, you know, so we understand the severity of the issue, but it doesn't negate all the stuff that was caused by what happened, you know. So that is a lot of our responsibility to get that generation, this new generation coming up, as far as, you know, Teamsters, get them back ready to work. You know, we need
motivated to work. Yeah.
motivated, 100%.
You know, being a Teamster is, you're proud to fucking do your labor job. You know, being a Teamster, and going into what you just said about the pandemic and everything that happened, kind of falls into, and I just want to touch base where Sean brought up the PVDs, he brought up the 224s, he brought up the pension. We had a member come up at the meeting, address the pension. Once
Pension
again,
lie.
you know, where Sean specifically said, I will make it known, anybody here can record me or videotape me. We will not allow the company to withdraw from the pension. Okay.
So that just so you guys know, that was one of the questions, right? There was a pension lie going around that Sean O'Brien was going to allow the pensions to merge, you know, from the East Coast, and they were in trouble. If you guys have any questions or, you know, want to look some stuff up and look up some information, you can look up the Butch Lewis Act. That's not going to happen. You know, the government is kind of bailing out some of this in trouble pensions. And we also had Chuck Mack come and explain that the pension, you know, he would be in charge of really evaluating any pensions that wanted to merge, and they'd need to be 85% funded to even be considered, right? Now, the new question that came up at the meeting was, because we're 100%, because our pension is 100%.
we're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
That the company could pull out, right? Sean made it clear that was a strike position.
Right.
That if the company wanted to pull out of the pension, that we would put them on the streets.
Yeah.
Another issue Sawas touched on was the 22-4s going forward, right? That classification of a 2-tier wage system, I mean, that really is what it is. These guys, it's cheaper labor for the company.
It's cheaper labor for the same work.
Yeah, exactly. So that, you know, going forward, do we want to get rid of those drivers? No, we want to make them all RPCDs.
Yes.
That would be ideal, right? We all get the same wage. Yes, we're going to have to staff Saturdays and maybe eventually Sundays. We don't know. We know that to keep up with the Joneses, UPS was probably.
But there's no. I don't think there's anything wrong with having two working shifts during the week. Monday
No,
to
I
Friday,
mean,
Tuesday, Saturday. We can make that work.
There's language in there now,
Right.
Tuesday through Saturday and a Wednesday through Sunday.
And Sean addressed that. He said we are definitely going to have to look at that 7th day to stay competitive. And I think for all of us, we have to understand that. You know, we have FedEx, we have the Postal Service, we have
Those are
Amazon.
ridiculous.
They're delivering
Yeah.
7 days a week. So that's definitely something. Sean said it very well. That's something that definitely needs to be addressed. You know, how we go with that, you know, is something that will be revealed during negotiations, right? But definitely it will be addressed.
So that could be a possible proposal then.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
it could be a possible
Okay.
proposal.
It could be.
I think we're already probably at a national level looking at ways to combat what we don't want, right?
Right.
Which we don't want the 2-tier wage system. So what are we going to do going forward? How do we, propose to the company,
Right.
this is what we want to do? I'm sure.
and with that 224, John and George, it's not just the monetary part; it's the protection and that these guys
That's true.
have, right? Or I should say, they don't have.
They don't have.
Right?
9-5 protection.
9-5 protection, 8-hour requests. They don't
Yeah.
have a
I
right
find
to
that-
bid on routes.
That's insulting.
Yeah,
It really is. Like,
and
it's
they're
the same
doing
job.
the same job. You know, that to me definitely needs to fucking change. It really does. We all came up during the time where there was no 224, and you were a cover driver. You
Just
worked
cover-
your
Covering
progression
full time. That's it.
You know, you're on a scale, and when you got to top rate, that's what you made. And we need to get back to that, in my opinion. And that needs to go. And with that, John, I want you to kind of elaborate with that, where we're at, what our position is with the 6-day work week, and the harassment and the intimidation that the company and the discipline that are given to the membership and the part-time and in the full-time. So I want you to touch base on that, John.
And I don't know if you want to say anything before I start, George, because it's probably going to be a long explanation. But just in regards to the 22-4s, what you feel about the 22-4s and the Saturday work week, or the 6-day work week and all that stuff.
Geez, I think we're probably all on the same page. I do believe we need to get rid of the 2-tier wage system. For one, just it's unfair all around because they don't really have any rights. And it's literally the same job. And for the 6-day work week, I mean, come on, it's absolutely unfair to penalize or punish someone for working a 6-day when they're technically scheduled for 5 days of work.
Right.
Whether it's Monday through Friday or Tuesday to Saturday, you're only scheduled for 5 days of work.
And I just want to make it clear, and I'll let John, you can get into it, but I want to make it clear that there is people out there that are specifically stating that this is only happening here in this local 952,
it's
which we know that is not true, and that we
Nationwide
are
problem.
and that we're not addressing it, or I should say we're allowing that to happen, which is not true. And John right now will give us the position of where we're at and how we deal with that stuff.
That being said, I want all the membership to understand in regard to the 6-day work week and the harassment and bullshit punishment that's being issued. We have your back. That's what I want to really stress to the membership, right? Is we have your back. I know I have 2 drivers right now in our building in Laguna that have working terminations. It's the first in our jurisdiction, which would mean Anaheim and Laguna as far as 952 goes. The first 2 working terminations that have been issued. And it scares people, right? I talked to these drivers myself and kind of reassured them that I have their back. We want you to understand, like Sawa said, this is a national problem. The company is enforcing this 6-day work week using language that was in there intended to for Saturday staffing, but if there was an act of God, like say there was a
For
train
emergency
derailment.
purposes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for emergency purposes. That was the intent of the forced language for Saturday. It was never to work 2.5 years, like we've been doing in our jurisdiction for the past 2.5 years, people working 6 days a week, and that's just fucking bullshit.
And it was a direct result of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say we're not in a pandemic anymore. The company continues to use that as a bullshit excuse to continue to do what they do.
Yeah.
To
They
be
haven't-
honest, even if we are in a pandemic, when going 2.5 years at this point, you need to look at forecasting and you need to look at what's going on and how to fix problems, right?
That's like a logistics thing. Why can't they figure that
Well,
out?
John, you said it earlier off camera that the company is shooting themselves in the foot and creating a problem by rolling that volume.
Yeah, by
Into
rolling
Saturday.
Monday volume into Saturday.
Customers are not even paying
And we
for
see
that.
it as drivers. I mean, we see it every week, every Monday. Routes are being pulled. Mondays are really light, and it's like, why? Is because they're forcing all that
They're
volume
forcing
into
all them in Saturday, and that's cheaper. It's cheaper to run it on Saturday than it would be to run it on the Monday through Friday shift.
Exactly. And I've heard all kinds of excuses from the company. Oh, no, it's not cheaper. We're not making money. In the long run, the cheaper labor will be Saturday if they have more 22.4s, period, right?
Yeah,
100%.
You look at a top rate RPCD driver to a top rate 22.4 driver, you're talking about $6 less an hour. Compound that over the whole country. Yeah, you're looking at saving some money.
Yeah.
Not even just-
Look at how many RPCDs on Monday are going home, John.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things that George touched on, right? I mean, we need this new generation to come in and work their 8
They need
hours.
to come in and work their 8.
Especially during, peak season when these guys, we've been hearing the excuses now from the company saying, well, these guys don't want to work.
They don't want to work.
Let's subcontract. Let's get people from out. Let's use PVDs. Let's use subcontractors for feeder.
The company's gonna try and save money anywhere they can.
Oh, yeah.
So if they see any lack of like motivation to work, they're going to use that towards their advantage, so they can get that cheaper labor, so they can see higher profits. I mean, that's just how companies work.
Yeah, that's business, right?
business.
And then we see that side too, for sure. We see that they need to run a business and they're trying to be profitable,
But we also
they're
need to
making
have
record profits.
they are making record profits, and we need to have
on our back.
we need to have fair, like a work environment.
Well, yeah, I think any of us, if we had some money in some kind of stocks, right, and it's making money, right, we don't really give a shit how it's making money.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah.
We don't look at it that way. But as union brothers and sisters working for UPS, we see the tremendous amount of money that this company is making, and it is off our backs, and we are entitled to have a share of that. We really are. I get it. Like, if I had some, I don't give a fuck how it grows. Just make me some money, right? But at the end of the day, there's human people behind that, right?
Yeah.
And
There's
and,
lives.
and it's up to us as a Teamsters union, and as this contract coming up, we are setting the standard across not just the nation, but we're
Globally.
talking
Yeah.
globally. Yeah.
Internationally.
And Sean did bring that up where he was at the contracts with DHL, and there was one other.
Carhartt. That's what.
I don't want to give the wrong information,
Yeah,
but
right, I know.
but he did talk.
There was a
about
couple of different contracts, just bigger contracts
that. Internationally, I should say.
referring to, and they did talk about. And one thing I'll bring up that we haven't talked about yet was they brought up getting international support, right,
Correct.
from other carriers internationally. I know they were in Argentina, I believe they were in Europe. Just garnering support from some of the major transportation unions because you leverage that, right? You leverage that support. These are other unions that are for workers' rights and whatever pressure you can get. And that's one of the things that I remember clearly is he's saying, Sean saying that we're going to use every tool at our disposal, right? Whether that be international pressure with other unions, whether that be politicians, all this stuff. They're going on a tour right now, just kind of addressing workers and workers' rights. So that's something big that's going on, nationally with Sean O'Brien.
I just want to clarify because I think it's kind of put out there that I've heard members saying, well, Sean just wants to strike. Okay. Sean is not taking that position. None of us are here saying we're going to strike. That's not what we want, okay?
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants to strike. You know, what we want is a fair contract. Sean simply has put out there the key points of what we will strike for. In no way are we endorsing or saying that we're going to strike, okay? But it's something that we really have to get prepared for if need be.
Yeah.
Preparation.
Yeah, if we can't solve anything through negotiation, then we
Correct.
Yeah, that's the whole
And Sean took the position. We're not going one day past, okay? That's a hard stance. And
July 31st,
yeah.
2023.
Yeah, it's a hard stance, but I will say for me personally, like I said, I'm just talking about me right now, just as a member. I can appreciate that because we've given too much back to this company, in my opinion. The days of having that let's get along attitude with the company is gone. Okay, it's gone. We need to really show this globally, nationally, that we are going to stick together, that we are going to fight together. And I will say, during that meeting, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed that some of the members, especially the stewards that weren't there, this has nothing to do with politics. This is our contract. You have an obligation to be there. You really do. And
Just get involved. I mean, I think that's one of the main points of even this podcast, right?
Right.
Is to get people involved, get people interested. Our job as, members, period, is to educate, motivate, to encourage, to, all those things, right? To get people involved in their own contracts, in their own union and labor force.
one of the things that I've asked my part-time force, I said, do you know why you pay dues? And a lot of them don't know. And I've encouraged and I've told the full-timers, the package car drivers, like, look, we have to educate these guys. Everybody needs to understand why they're paying dues, why they're at a union. And it's our duty, each and every one of us, to educate.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Bert Kreischer says.
As Bert Kreischer says.
100%.
100%.
100%.
So yeah, just going back to that 6-day work week, John, what our position is locally, this is going on nationally. We're not accepting that. When you hear that this is just a problem in 952, that is not true, okay? We are going to have your back, the members. And what I've told people in the part-time with my stewards is, look, whatever your work day is, Monday through Friday, Tuesday through Saturday, you come in on those days on time and you show up. If they're going to discipline you for your day off, we will file the grievances on it. And when the day comes, we will fight tooth and nail to make sure that you are not disciplined at all for not coming in on your day off.
Yeah. And I just want to make that clear. Obviously, we, Savas kind of brought it up as far as the 6-day work week. And I know we talked about it a lot off camera, but the 6-day work week, it's a big thing. The company is pushing that volume from Monday into Saturday, creating this problem, and now saying that they can't staff it so they can get more 22-4s. That's kind of what we were talking about, right? So reason being, obviously, 22-4s are cheaper in the long run. That's really what it comes down to. If you take a top rate RPCD and a top rate 22-4, it's $6 less. It is what it is. It's a cheaper. That's why we refer to it as a 2-tier wage system for the same job. But in regard to that Saturday work piece, for those RPCDs that they're forcing in Monday, or the 22-4s, for the RPCDs that they're forcing in Saturday, and the 22-4s that they're forcing in Monday. So if you get issued discipline on your day off, I need to be very, very clear, and I don't think I've hit this. We did talk about it off camera, but I need to be very, very clear that the local has your back, that the West has your back, that internationally or nationally, Sean and the IBT, they have your back. We are not accepting any discipline. We think it's bullshit that you've been going on the 2.5 years working 6 days a week.
Yeah.
No one has served any discipline. Okay, I got to make that clear too.
Or
because
been fired, right?
Or been fired. Yeah.
So now they've been issued for sure. The company has issued discipline, and reason being is because it does kind of it's a scare tactic, right? Coercion, as they call it. So you could have two drivers looking at this driver being issued his termination, and those other two drivers are scared. Maybe this one driver's holding his ground and doing what he needs to do. And like I said, the company, it knows that they can scare people, and it's a scare tactic. And moving forward, we just want to be very clear that, look, me as a business agent, Savas as a business agent, George as a shop steward, 952 in general, Eric Jimenez, who's in the ST right now, even going as far as Victor Mineros and Mark Davison in the West, right? They're over the whole West for UPS. These people, we have your back, and we are not accepting any discipline. You should never be asked to serve a discipline. The company can do whatever they want as far as issuing. We can't stop that.
Can't stop
and
them
I've
from that.
actually made, the comments to some of my stewards and some of my members and just say, I'd love to go in and beat the shit out of your manager, right? I'd love to.
Well,
It'd be great.
yeah,
I mean,
well, you're not trying to make this into a cesspool, are you?
no. I'm definitely not trying to bring in thuggism.
Yeah, we're not trying to bring
So
thuggism
what I'm
to
trying to
952.
say is
Thuggism?
that we
That's
I'm
been
not
out
gonna
there.
go
Yeah.
We have your back. That's all I'm saying. I can't stop the company from issuing the discipline. I can't
Right.
stop the company from using the word forced, from putting up a list saying you are forced. I can't stop them from doing that.
Yeah.
I'd love to, like I said, I'd love to go old school Teamster on them and just beat somebody up. But in the real world right now, we have our recourse, which is a grievance procedure. We file as a steward. I've gotten all those reduced.
Yep.
Right now I have the 2 terminations in Laguna. Out of
working
Laguna,
terminations, right.
working terminations,
Working terminations.
right? So they've issued a working termination.
Well, can you kind of, for our membership out there that's listening, John, can you clarify what a working term is?
Yeah. So that's actually a great point, right? So a working termination they're issued specifically for attendance. Okay, so even if we weren't referring to a 6-day work week, we were just saying you had an attendance problem. Okay, so you get issued a 1 day, a 3 day, a warning letter, 1 day, 3 day, 5 day, and then get issued a termination, right? It's a working termination. So until that grievance is adjudicated completely, you're working. You have a job. You are not on the streets. That's what is referred to as a working termination. So in regard to the 6-day work week, let's add that piece to it. You could technically be issued a working termination, which in Laguna building, we do have a couple, but those are not being served or not being, the grievance is not adjudicated. We've filed on them and no one has lost their job. They've issued them and they are going to be reduced. That's the whole, that's the way the grievance procedure works. That's the way the working termination works, just so we're clear. The company knows it's a scare tactic, and we need you to know that we have your back 100%. And you, as members, I want to say that the company knows they're trying to scare you. They know that we have a big contract coming up. They want to wear you down. The intimidation, the harassment is bullshit. It's fucking bullshit.
And it's going to happen this next year.
Yeah.
This next year, coming up to our next contract,
We're going to start seeing more.
we're going
A
to see
lot
more. And what I need my brothers and sisters to hopefully see and realize is that they are, in my opinion, doing this to separate and divide us brothers and sisters, because a lot of members don't understand the process that John just explained and think that we are allowing them to do this. Okay. We are not allowing them to do this. Okay.
I don't know.
They think, oh, well, what is our union doing for us when they're doing this? It's a piece of paper that you get in the mail. And I get how unnerving that could be.
Scary.
Scary,
'cause
right?
I know
You
they
get a
used
letter.
to be certified for a while, right? They're
Yeah,
certified?
So it's
they
like
send you a certified letter,
certified
right?
letter.
And then let's just say your wife gets it, right? And she opens it up. and
terrifying,
She
right?
thinks you're getting terminated, right?
Yeah.
You got a mortgage.
You're not fucking going to
yeah,
work.
Yeah. Well, like, what's going on?
Where do you
right?
go to in the
Right?
morning?
And so, all jokes aside, I could see really how this can definitely scare the membership.
Yeah.
But as John stated, and I will state, we have your back. We haven't had anybody serve or be walked out, I should say, for a working term
Or serve a suspension.
or serve
That's
a
it.
suspension.
They have never. They've been issued, but they have not served,
served.
anything. And we will not allow you to serve anything is in regards to the 6-day work week. If you're calling in on that Saturday and you're an RPCD, or that Monday and you're a 22-4, we do ask that you do call in. We would say that you don't lie.
Right.
We would follow that procedure and say, look, just call the company, let them know, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it in on my day off.
Right.
And that's it.
And even if they send it to you guys, and if I'm not mistaken, they just changed the board over. I heard that they were sending messages where you couldn't even respond. They didn't have a response required like back before. I haven't worked with the new Dyad, but this is what I heard.
Oh, you're talking about the Dyad 6, right?
The new Dyad that they're having now.
It doesn't have
response required.
automatic responses.
So
You
what
have
I
to
heard,
punch everything in.
what I heard while you were there in that meeting, George, on Friday, it was told to us that they just changed that they can send messages now with the response required.
Yes.
What I was going to state was that when you get a message on the Dyad, okay, like John said, and you call in on your day off and you say you can't be there, if they send you a message, let's say on Friday, and say, hey, we need you to come in on Saturday, you reply and say, I cannot come in on my day off. You take a screenshot, you take a picture of it. You always have something to back yourself that you communicated to them, the company, that you cannot make it, whether it's a phone call or via the Dyad. Always.
And
I agree.
Just so you guys understand, and I mean, this is something coming from upper union, officials, right? One of the reasons that we don't, or that we do ask for you to call and communicate that with them, is that we don't want the company or anybody really to misconstrue that we're calling for a sick out,
Right.
or we're
A work
trying
stoppage.
to do a work stoppage or a strike for that matter. That's why we're very clear that you guys need on your own to call and say, hey, I can't make it in on my day off. Other than that, like I said, we are not okay with their 6-day work week. Yes, there's language in the contract that would refer to forcing people in on that 6th day, but the intent of that language was to help during acts of God, or, train derailments, or something that's an exception to the norm.
Yeah.
Shit, I think
All
we
those
should. I
emergency
think we should open
responses.
the contract, John, and be specific on it, right? And really read it, right? I wanted to touch base a little bit on where we're at with the discipline that they are issuing for people that are reporting injuries. Okay. So right now, the company is taking the position. If you report an injury, they are giving you discipline for not knowing your DOKs. Now,
We're not following the methods.
or not following the methods, correct. So our position is DOKs are the methods, or your SPOR for the part-time, or even as drivers, right? Loading so many packages per hour, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That is not something that is a condition of employment. It is not in the contract. We don't see that. We don't agree with their numbers. Any of you out there that are listening, part-time, full-time, if you're being issued any type of discipline for reporting an injury, number one, if you're going to report an injury, you ask for a steward. You have a right to have a steward present as you report the injury. And going back to that contractual language, I just want to say in Article 14, any employee who is injured on the job and is sent home or to a hospital who must obtain medical attention shall receive and pay at the applicable hourly rate for the balance of his or her regular shift. Okay, because I know that a lot of you guys that do report it and go to the clinic, do not get compensated for that. You got to make sure that you let them know that you need to be paid for that time. Okay.
We'll talk a little bit while Sawas looks up some language. Just in regards to that kind of the whole issue of harassment and intimidation regarding the 6-day work week, regarding reporting injuries, giving you discipline for reporting injuries. It's all part of that whole same thing. And sadly, our local wasn't strong on that before. Sadly, I know as a part-timer, I'll tell you one story. I like stories, right? One time I was in the unload and I was scanning. It's when they brought in scanning and I was a scanner, right? And I'm scanning and this guy comes out with this big E-rig. It was like an exhaust pipe. And he's like fucking swinging it around trying to get me to scan it, right? And I'm like, okay, whoa, watch out, you're getting close to me. He accidentally hits me in the face, okay? He hit me in the face. Like,
I think it made you look better, John.
cracks my tooth, right? He cracks my tooth. I get an injury. I have to go to the dentist, and they have to fix my teeth and all this shit, right? And then so I come back, right? I come back from the clinic and from the dentist, and I get issued a warning letter for not being aware of my surroundings, right? And I just kind of had to laugh and chuckle, but as funny as I thought it was at the time, it's really not that funny. The company and our local at the time allowed this kind of behavior to happen, where they would issue these warning letters. So even when I came in as a steward, I thought, oh, well, yeah, you get injured, they issue you a warning letter. That's normal, and I come to think of it, going forward, and I'm like, wow, you get hurt and the company issues you discipline.
Yeah.
And which is
Kind of ass backwards.
State law, really, if you go through, workers' comp law, and you start looking into it and you're injured and they give you a fucking discipline, that is, very borderline, if not illegal. It's very, very borderline as far as what the company is doing in regard to issuing discipline for an injury.
And I think it was, from what I remember in that scenario, was in the past, I was always told, well, warning letters are always contested.
Yeah.
Right? So leave it at that. Now, going back to what I was talking about in Article 14, it says, no employee will be disciplined or threatened with discipline or retaliated against as a result of filing an on-the-job injury report. It's in the language, and what we're talking about now is, in the past, there was never grievances filed in this capacity, where we have the language to file against that and say, no, this is wrong. You can't issue discipline. It's part of us fighting back to the company and saying, hey, we're not accepting this bullshit warning letter because I'm filing an injury report.
And the way I look at it, and I don't know about you or, the way I look at it, a warning letter, yes, per the contract, is automatically contested for sure. Mm-hmm. I understand that portion. But a warning letter is the first step in progressive discipline. Progressive discipline, what's the end? What's the end of the progression in progressive discipline? It's being terminated.
Terminated.
Right?
Yes.
Right? It's termination.
Yes.
So
That's the
I
intent.
understand that they are, they are within the contract to say that, the warning letters are contested. Why would we file? That's why we file as harassment, because that's really what it is. They're harassing you. They don't want you to file that injury. The next time they want you to think and go, oh, well, last time I got hurt, they gave me a warning letter. Are they going to issue a suspension this time? That's really what we're looking at. And it's the same thing with the 6-day work week, right? When you see somebody else getting terminated, or even when you get that first warning letter for calling in on a Saturday on your day off, when you get that first warning letter or when you get that first suspension, you might think twice.
Yeah.
Shit, should I just come in? I know it's my day off and I have this family party and I haven't seen my kids all fucking week because I didn't, file 9-5 and I need the money. And should I just go in? I might not be able to see my kids, but Sunday, should I just go in? Because I'm worried.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to.
And progressive is the word. I mean, I remember in 2018 when the company first took the position of forcing us to come in on Saturday, RPCDs, right? Mm-hmm. And back then, me personally, I was like, no, I'm not coming in on my day off, okay? And I was never issued any type of discipline. Mm-hmm. There was other members that, like John said, that were afraid or scared, and they would come in, and then when they didn't, they got disciplined, which I knew right there when they weren't issuing me anything that was bullshit. The progressiveness now from 2018 to where we're at now in 2022, right? It's automatic, man. They're passing out those letters like hotcakes. Like, we're gonna give you a warning letter. You know, we're gonna give you a 1-day suspension. So we have to be very, in my opinion, vigilant and filing on those. Diligent. I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm glad I got you guys here. But yes, we have to be very, diligent and following up with those things, because what it's going to show the members is that we do have their back, right? And that we're going to sit on those grievances, and we're going to hold the company to an explanation of why they're doing these things, where they weren't doing that in the past.
It was just they were allowed to.
They were allowed to.
They were allowed to.
Right. So I think, we've come a long way, but there's definitely a lot more issues that are going to come up and a lot of room for growth. And, I just want to make it clear that we are not accepting any of that discipline for the 6th day, part-time and full-time. Our position.
100%.
100%.
Is there any other topics you want to go? Because we can kind of go into like our closing segment.
I just want to touch on what we're talking about right now for, the company's issues, like warning letters and whatnot. And I believe that's obviously the intent is for termination, right? And also for fear.
Lead up to
it. Right. But the thing is, they want to establish a case. So they have to start by implementing a warning letter. And that the same goes for the union member.
Right.
That's the reason we have grievances. I'm not saying go grievance crazy, but if you feel you are being treated unjust or the work is not right, they violate your 9-5 or whatever, don't be afraid to actually file. You want to start your case, so that way you have something to back up when you go into that grievance meeting or whatnot.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty simple. Like, going back to your work week, if it's Monday through Friday, Tuesday, Saturday, you show up to work and you're on time, and they want to discipline you for not coming to your job. It's cut and clear, and we're gonna be able to address. We're gonna fight.
We're gonna fight
100%. Now, I will say, okay, if you are that employee that has issues, that doesn't come in, shows up
during
late,
your normal schedule.
Yeah, your normal schedule, shows up late, it just gives the company ammo to come after you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do your due diligence and show up to work on time and show up to work. And it's that simple, It really is.
That's one of the things that in the history lesson that we took on the 13th, this was a Steward thing. We had a history lesson from the IBT just in regards to Teamsters. And one of the things that stood out to me was the pride that we took in our work.
Yep.
Now granted, UPS delivering isn't, I would say, trade, within the normal connotation of the word, right? We're not like drywallers or electricians, right? But delivering is a tough job. Delivering UPS is probably one of the toughest out there. That being said, take pride in it. We should take pride in our work, in getting there every day, doing a good job, getting compensated for that good job, because that's what we're asking for, right? Is to be compensated fairly as the company makes record profits, but also that we're proud of our work. I can honestly stand there and say, hey, I'm proud of the last 20 years. I really am. I don't know.
No, I agree with that 100%. I mean, a lot of why our customers stayed with us was because of us, the drivers, right?
Yeah.
I took pride, and I told every member that comes in, as long as you work with pride in what you do, you'll always be a good worker. Always, okay? So, UPS has gotten away from that customer service, in my opinion. You know, it's all about the dollars and the numbers now. But we have built this company on our backs as a Teamster, right? And we want to continue to have that. We want to show pride in what we do. To be a Teamster is to come out and be the labor force that we are, because we are.
Best delivery service out there, period.
That's right. That's right.
We got to remember that. Even though the company wants to pull us in the other direction,
Right.
us as members, we need to remember that. And I always did as a driver. You know, I got pushed a lot, and I think we all did.
Right.
Numbers. Don't worry about talking to your customers. Don't, you know, and I took pride in knowing that. It's funny because when I got trained, and I don't know about you guys, but that was one of the big things that my trainer emphasized to me. And this was back
Establish a good relationship with your customers.
Yeah.
right? They were, dude, you need to talk to your customers. In fact, my trainer at the time told me, you know, we're more expensive than everybody else. And the reason why is because we provide a better service, period. Yep. We are friendly. We're, you know, personable. We get done on time.
We go out of our
know,
way.
We go out of our way.
Yeah.
And we know those people. And you see all over social media and all over the news when, you know, a driver's been on the same route for 40 years and all his customers are throwing him a giant party. And it's always the UPSer.
Yep.
You know, it's not the, you know, the Amazon driver who's taking a shit on your driveway.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Throwing your big screen over the fence.
Hey, granted, we have our issues, but you know, for the most part, I always took pride as a driver of building those relationships with my customers. Dude, I went out of like he said, I went out of my way.
I go out of my way for my customers.
Right. If they call you, hey, I got to go home early today. My kid's got a thing. Okay, I'll swing by early. What time do you need me there? Yeah, I'll break off. Don't worry about it. And that's something that the company's like, oh, shit. Well, he's going to break off.
Up their numbers.
You know, it might mess with their numbers. But that customer at the end of the day stays with us for that.
Yeah.
They really do.
They do. They like the service.
One more thing I wanted to touch on before we go into that like closing segment would be the 9.5.
Okay.
9.5. So those of you who don't know, you should, but those of you who don't know, 9.5 language is our protection from excessive overtime, right? We, as business agents, stewards, as members, we should encourage anybody who feels like they're being overworked. You need to get on the 9.5.
5 and 9.5.
You need to get on the 9.5. Get on the 9.5. I tell everybody all the time. Get on, because that is our protection. And, you know, I saw it in 2020 as a driver where the company kind of just took the position where they said, oh, well, we don't have the staffing. We're just going to pay all the penalties, right? And granted, I think we talked about it off camera a little bit. Penalties and extra money are great. But at the end of the day, what did you say?
You can't get the time back. It's impossible.
Yeah,
The time. You can't get the time back.
And you can get paid as much as you want, but it's not the same value.
Yeah. So, like I said, get on the. First I'll give you the position, right? The position before of the leadership was kind of a little bit softer. Where, and I'm not speaking locally. I'm referring more to the West, where we didn't use the language that's already there. So the language in the 9.5 section, Article 37, right, refers to going over 4 times where they pay the penalty that 4th time. After that, there should be an elevated meeting to discuss why they can't keep you under 9.5, why they can't stop giving, you know, why they refuse to stop giving you excessive hours, right? So those elevated meetings, I am proud to say, under Mark Davison in the West are taking place.
And I've never seen that before, John.
Never. So the stance is stronger. So I want you guys to, you know, be assured as members, as UPS Teamsters, that we're there for you. We have your back as far as the 9.5. Once you get to that 4th, and I know in our building I actually have a couple that are just hit that 4th grievance that got paid. And now we're going to start our elevated meetings to hold the company to account. Like, why can't you keep us under this time? What's the issue? And a lot of it, to be honest, they don't have an excuse. The excuses have played themselves out. You know, a lot of the times it was staffing, it was the pandemic, and this. We're 2.5 years in to this pandemic, right? We're those are exhausted. They should have hired, and they didn't. So,
and with that 9.5, John, I think the members need to understand too what we're doing right now for the excessive rides and the direction that we're going with, because they have this new, I don't know what even to call it, but
it's an algorithm.
Yeah, it's an algorithm that they're just singling out drivers, whether you've had, injuries, accidents, your age. There's this new algorithm that the company can't even explain, that John and I seen in a panel in a case where they can't even explain why they're singling out certain members.
This one actually might be new to you, George, but I'll kind of explain a little bit. So the company has kind of put all drivers into this new
Database
algorithm. It's a third-party company that they've used that compiles a bunch of data. They, whether they refuse or they are just ignorant to what information actually goes into this database, they will not tell us.
Yeah.
They said they can't. They don't know what exactly goes in, and
They don't know what information they're giving to a third party.
No.
Well,
They haven't been able to explain it.
this is UPS we're talking about.
Yeah. So as far as we're getting, and this is in the panel system, they don't know exactly what information they assume. Well, not assume, but the things that they've offered up so far: age, your route, your numbers as far as over allowed, how many stops, all that stuff. Also, injuries, accidents, and then who knows what else.
Right.
So we've actually there's been some.
How many bad posts you said on Facebook about UPS?
Yeah, there's been some kind of questions on, does it have to do with some your credit score, personal information?
Yeah,
that
personal
has nothing
stuff.
to do with you driving. Now I don't know that that's true. They didn't refute those claims. The company didn't refute those claims. They actually just said, we don't know. We don't know what goes into that algorithm. And then, so they put all your information into this algorithm. It spits out how many rides. It sticks you in a tier. So there's 4 tiers. The 4th being the worst, and you need a ride every quarter. So
Quarterly
that's
rides.
4
That's what
rides a year.
Quarterly rides?
Plus your S&V, plus any accidents or injuries that would actually
I
dictate.
mean, isn't that a direct violation?
Well, that it is a violation of what we have for excessive rides in our language, right, John?
We actually heard a manager, believe it or not, a labor manager state that he said that we, being the company, that they could ride with you 300 times a year, if need be, if that was what it took to improve your methods. And we all know what it is. Just so we're clear, we all know that they're targeting people with over allowed. We know that. They've been doing it for years.
Right.
It's just the new umbrella that they've put it under, the new wording,
Yeah, they're targeting, but they won't give you a new.
So what exactly is all this information that they're giving to this third party? What does it put out? So is it are they trying to anticipate how you're going to be driving for the week, or?
Well, I don't know if you remember a couple years back, and I was still a driver at the time. They came out with this program, and it was, I think, the precursor to this algorithm. It was kind of the beginning steps.
Is it the one with
and
the
they called
accidents,
it
right? The accident report, the probability report.
accident
Yeah.
probability report.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, and I remember having a supervisor come up to me and said, "Hey, you're due for an accident." That's what he told me.
I know.
And I said,
I remember
"What?
someone telling me
what are
that.
you talking about?"
It's
And he's like, "Well, according to your probability report, you're going to have an accident pretty soon here. So I just want to make sure you're aware." And I'm like,
It's like, back off, Minority
"What
Report.
are you talking
Jeez.
about?" Yeah. You can see the future? Holy shit.
Sounds like
Plus,
a Sanuk thing.
When you have to imagine that, like, when you tell that to a driver who's probably having a really good day in the morning, talking to his buddies before he starts work, and then a supervisor comes up and is like, "Hey, you're due for an accident." Now you're playing mental games with him now. Now he's like second guessing like his choices throughout the day, and like he's on edge.
And with that, how do we go about? Well, I know, but John, maybe you can explain what we do and for excessive rides. Okay, so we've had conversation with labor on how we file for that, right?
Well, the conversations aren't really with labor because they don't agree with us, labor
Right.
being the company, right? So basically on our end, what we look at is we have excessive ride protection within the contract. If we feel like there's excessive rides, we file a grievance, and they're not actually allowed to get on car until that grievance is adjudicated. That being said, once you have your S&V, and your S&V should be kind of told to you at least a couple days in advance. They kind of been doing this thing lately where they're trying to do like a pop quiz ride. They're like, I'm just going to get on car today. And you're like, for what? What's the reason behind it? Before, we accepted rides that were your S&V, which was your 1 yearly ride. And then if you had an injury or an accident,
Right.
there would most likely be a ride, which we didn't have an issue with, right? But now with trying to 4 or 5 rides a year, 6 rides a year, at first they kind of attacked it in a way to say that they were methods rides. Then they were safety rides. Now, at the end of the day, it's over supervision, harassment, all under Article 37, right? And the excessive ride protection. So that being said, we need to make sure you guys file excessive ride grievances if you are, if they plan on riding you excessively, if that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
when I was a driver and on package, I always had one ready to go in my truck because a lot of the times, and we've seen this happen, they won't even tell you that they're going to ride with
quiz
you.
ride.
Yeah, a pop quiz ride, like you said, John, right?
Show up.
So when they did that, I already had my grievance filled out. And that's just a suggestion to your brothers and sisters out there. I always had one ready, right? What is the key thing the company says? Expect the unexpected, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
I was using his
yeah,
methods.
so I use my methods, right? And I expected the unexpected, and I always had a grievance ready to go where I only had to put the date on it. Okay, and that's what I did as a driver, brothers and sisters, because a lot of the times, the company will do that. They'll do a surprise ride or whatever they want to do. A steward might not be available. They might do it right when you're going to drive out of the building. I've seen it happen. And I've also been where I was able to give it to them right when I was driving out of the building, get in the car, and the supervisor, I give them the grievance and had those rides stopped right there and there. Yeah. So that's my suggestion to you, brothers and sisters out there, because there'll be times your steward's not going to be there. And they'll do it at the very last minute. That's just my suggestion to you guys.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I did the same. I literally, the company kind of goes by flavor of the month. I knew the flavor of the month when it was coming or when it first started, and I'd have grievances ready for that, whether it be, excessive rides or disciplining for misloads or not finding misloads, all kinds of stuff, right? Something that's, I think, remember they were doing, what was that? Not found packages.
Yeah.
Oh, the not found stuff. Yeah.
They said that was loaded in your car.
Yeah.
Whatever, dude. We would file grievances on those, and I had those grievances ready. I just would have to fill out the date. I'd have sign it, and it was already pre-filled out. You can do that as well. So that's one of the ways to combat, all the issues. Just be ready. Expect the unexpected. That's all I said.
Expect the unexpected.
Fuck the company.
Yeah. So just be prepared, right?
Anyways, so kind of wrapping this all together. I wouldn't say wrapping it up, but just putting it in a nice little package, right? We want to be very clear, and I obviously we're not acting in the capacity of business agents or stewards. We're just members talking right now. OCST, right? Off the clock, shop talk. Damn. Off the clock, shop talk.
There you go.
Just kind of not in that capacity, but we do want to reassure you that we have your back 100%. The local, the administration, going all the way up the chain has your back. We really want to reiterate that to you. We want to let you guys know that the company is coming. The company is getting ready. They're getting ready for us to strike, even if we're saying that's not the goal right now, but they're getting ready. It's really obvious with the harassment, the coercion, everything's kind of building up, right? That being said, we need to stick together. Those points that we hit, right? We got your back. We need to stick together. We need to educate, encourage, motivate, get people involved, get with your part-timers, talk it up. We need to have more of this. What we're doing here should be going on.
Happening just in the building.
Everywhere. After work, grab a couple beers. Let's talk. Before work, hey, grab a coffee and a donut. Let's talk it up real quick. No beers before work. Just talk it up. Just really get everybody involved. Let's all get on the same page so we're ready.
I concur.
You got anything else closing wise?
Don't be afraid to go up to your shop stewards and ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can. You want to be well informed.
Yeah,
And be well informed.
And with that, going back to what Sean said at our meeting, to sacrifice 1 hour out of the month to come to your union hall to sit in your meeting to know what's going on. I mean, you have to invest in yourself. If you can't invest in yourself and you can't be part of, how do you expect us to do everything? We need your support, and you need to invest within yourselves.
You guys are the union.
Yeah.
We're all pieces, right? We all play a role, but you guys are the union. You need to get involved. You need to take responsibility, and just like I do, I hold that responsibility as well. I hold some of the blame for the crappy culture that was built right at a 952 for such a long time. I hold some of the blame for that because I didn't get involved and I didn't get educated and I didn't do the things that I needed to do. But now is the time.
Now's the time.
All right.
Now is the time.
I think on that note, I think we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
So off the clock shop talk. I will post a link probably right here for our email, and then we're gonna try and do these every once a week.
Yeah.
So
Get ready, guys.
yeah. See you next time.